European Union leaders have gathered in Brussels for the second day of their summit as they continue wide-ranging and difficult discussions. Day 2's agenda is focused mainly on two key issues: West Asia and, more prominently, the European Union's long-term budget. While both topics are important, it is the budget talks that are creating the most tensions among member states. The leaders are in disagreement over the proposed 7-year budget put forward by the European Commission. The scale of the proposal is at around €2 trillion, and it has immediately triggered pushback from different sides. Well, their countries, which contribute more to the EU budget than they receive, feel the plan is too expensive. At the same time, poorer member states, which rely more on EU funding than they contribute, are also unhappy. Now, arriving for the talks, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz did not hide his concern. Germany, being the largest net contributor to the EU budget, sees the proposal as overly ambitious.
I am going to repeat my request once again today at the European Council that we should not allow the European Union to take on further debt. We must not do that. And that is why the German position on this is very clear. I share this view with a number of other member states of the European Union.
This divide is not new. Every 7 years, the EU goes through the same difficult balancing act, trying to reach a unanimous agreement that satisfies all 27 members. The first attempt to narrow the gap came last week, when the Cypriot EU presidency presented a revised draft that reduced the Commission's proposal by about 2%. But rather than calming tensions, it only highlighted how far apart the sides still are. Despite these agreements, the budget also carries major political priorities. One of the most significant is €100 billion earmarked for Ukraine's reconstruction plan. This shows EU's continued commitment to supporting Ukraine amid its ongoing war with Russia. Under EU rules, the budget for 2028 to 2034 must be agreed by the end of 2027. However, with a wave of national elections expected across several member states next year, leaders are now pushing to reach a political deal much earlier. For now, no final decisions are expected. Instead, heads of member states are likely to simply outline their positions and preferences. The task of shaping a workable compromise will then pass to the incoming Irish EU presidency, which is expected to prepare a revised proposal later in October. Joining us live on the broadcast is our correspondent William Denslow from Brussels. William, what more can you tell us about this summit and the dispute, especially concerning the budget?
A key issue for debate during this leaders' summit was the issue of the EU budget, a budget which will be to the tune of over $2 trillion spent over the course of 7 years. Now, there is plenty of contention as to how exactly this vast pot of cash should be spent. The European Commission has proposed some sweeping cuts to some major sectors, agriculture and regional spending being the two major ones, seeing spending in those two categories down. They propose from 60% down to closer to 40%. That, though, is receiving some strong pushback. As is so often the case with this budget, there is a huge contrast when it comes to approaches. The more frugal northern European states at odds with European nations, perhaps in the east or to the south of the bloc. However, unanimity is required for a budget to pass. That is why Ireland are being tasked to try and find consensus. They hold the rotating presidency of the European Council in the second half of the year. They are tasked with trying to find that compromise by the end of the year, where they hope to get this budget signed, sealed and delivered by then.